What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by a man who needs no introduction on a show like this, Dodgers legend Eric Gagné. Eric, we're here to talk about baseball bats and offense. This is something I never imagined I'd be asking you questions about.
That's right. A pitcher, not just I was bred to break bats. Now I'm part owner of a B45, so it's pretty different.
I love it. Well, you mentioned it, part owner of B45. It's a Quebec-based bat company that's kind of right in the middle of this whole torpedo bat phenomenon, if you can call it that. So I know there's a bigger story here, but you guys, speaking of the Yankees specifically, your company was kind of right at the origin story, if you will, of the MIT professor coming up with this idea a year ago. So tell us what you can about kind of that, where this all started in spring training 2024.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit crazy because we have a guy, Kevin Young. He's our rep, MLB rep, and he's been with us for 9 years, ever since I bought the company. And he travels every single year. He goes to spring training. He goes in cages. He goes and hit. He thinks he still hits, but he goes out there and kind of listens to the guys and what they want. That's kind of what B45 is motto is: just try to give the players what they really love in their hands that he can trust. And he goes around, he talks to the guys, he kind of trying to see what their feel is, their new colors and the new stuff. There's always some new different things coming up every year, trying to keep up with the trends. And I think it was last year he went to, I think it was in Tampa, I think for spring training. And you heard some guys talk about it, about like the little bowling pins shaped baseball bat, and I could actually improve and stuff like that. But I never really knew anything about it. All I know is we've done some weird bats in the days, because we got some training bats that they're trying to either speed up their hands or stay back or whatever. There's a lot of different kind of drills that you have some training bats for that. But it's the first time I've ever heard is probably a year and a half ago. But I never thought they would catch up like that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, take me through a couple weeks ago. The Yankees hit 15 home runs in the opening series, and all of a sudden, these torpedo bats that now we find out, to your point, have kind of loosely been around in various forms. But you guys are in the middle of it. You were providing some bats to some Yankees players. You were at the origin story with this MIT professor, Aaron Lenhart, who kind of dreamt up the torpedo bat. So was your phone just blowing up when the Yankees start hitting home runs and all of a sudden these things are the talk of baseball?
Yeah, you look at the social media, it was a little crazy, but I think we give it way too much credit to torpedo. I think those guys are that good now. It's unbelievable where the Yankees line up and everything else. They can hit the ball. So, I mean, I think we got to give them a little bit of credit, but it was pretty different. I mean, I've never really had that big of a buzz. We talked about a couple of years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, was the axe a little bit. The handle was a little different. So then the guys are hurt a little bit on their wrist. Jason Ward was probably the first guy I've ever heard about using an X bat, but it was crazy. Yeah, you're coming back and all the big talks about CNN everywhere you're looking at. You go Fox, they're talking about the torpedo bat. So it's good for the game. I mean, it's whatever. If it's legal, great. I think that's what it's all about making the game more fun for the fans. And talking about the torpedo bats or anything else, it's positive. So it's good. It's good stuff for baseball.
How I'm sure you've had lots of people in your life that have come up to you and said, help me understand what exactly is happening with these bats. They hear bowling pin bat, they hear torpedo bat. Have you been able to kind of distill down to the torpedo bats for dummies explanation for people that don't fully understand?
Hey, they hit home runs. That's all I know. Nah, for real. I think it's, now there's so much technology. There's so much data known in the game that you understand how guys move. Like a guy like Aaron Judge, or certain size, and you have guys like Altuve, smaller guys. I mean, now it's down to science. I mean, how guys move, how guys, their strength and their weaknesses and all, what they're trying to do to accomplish to get the ball as far as possible, as hard as possible, and find a good sweet spot. And I think that just makes sense. If you know where the ball is hit most of the time, or you move the sweet spot to where it's, where it's at, it just maximize every time you hit the ball as much as possible. And that's kind of the motto with the B45. When I bought it, we're the first guys that invented the yellow birch. And it was kind of weird at first because a guy like Russell Martin was trying, he goes, it's weird because at first when you hit it, it makes marks on it. So our thing was the bats are a little bit softer to start with, to get a little harder, but the more you use, the flatter it gets. So the flatter it gets, the more of a sweet spot you get. So that's kind of just, it's just data, it's just science. I think it's caught on where you have cameras, you have all the technology, you have the ball tracking, you have the bat tracking, motion sensor. I mean, you got everything you can look for. So, there are going to be changes like this where it's, it's just a small, slight difference. I think guys get to the ball a little quicker, and then you see some huge improvement.
Yeah. Um, the way I heard it explained by I think it was like a Yankees minor leaguer was that with the torpedo bats, sort of the 100th percentile contact, like you actually might lose a little bit of exit velocity on like the absolute perfect swing, but the idea is that the number of barrels is going to increase. So it's kind of like you're going to have more high quality contact outcomes with a torpedo bat, even if at the 100th percentile you might lose a little bit of exit velocity. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I mean, exit velo is one thing. You got to squirt them all the time. I mean, even if you put bigger bats, just the fact that you hit two spheres together, it's kind of, it's not easy. So, I mean, I think there's some to it. Of course, it depends on the bat path, and everybody is different. I mean, you're looking at Aaron Judge, maybe he likes the bat to be more heavy on the end of the bat. It all depends on their swing path. I mean, I remember a guy like Todd Hundley back in the days with the Dodgers. He was hitting a super long bat as a fungo. It looked like a super small bat the whole way. And at the end of it was a huge, the bat was huge and it broke all the time. But once you hit the sweet spot, the ball goes forever. So, I mean, there's going to be more changes. The guys now with that change, that torpedo bat, they're going to start guys throwing like moving stuff around, maybe a bigger handle like Marquise Grissom used to have. He used to tape it, put a counterbalance. Or Barry Bonds was the same way. He was always cutting up on the bat. That was exactly the point. I mean, you're shortening up the bat, means the bat, you're swinging path is a little more at the ball, and then therefore you're gonna hit more barrels.
Yeah. You joked how you used to be, your job was to break bats or to miss bats. Now you're producing them. What kind of insight do you feel like you've been able to offer as a pitcher to give insight into the people producing these bats that might be able to counteract what some of the pitchers are trying to do?
Well, I don't have to have that much input, to be honest, because all the guys that work for us, they're all baseball players. All play pro ball somewhere, so it's their passion. It's really what they love to do. They swing the bats. They go out there, and there's some guys that like them bats are a little bit used because it's a little harder, a little splatter. So we're gonna have guys go in balls for them and ship it to them. So it's a passion for them. For me, when I saw the bat company for sale, a buddy of mine started that, and they started believing Birch. I thought it was kind of cool for innovation wise and for me to stay in the game. So just my true stance was, now we don't break as many bats. We have probably the best birch on the market. And, it's kind of cool for me just to be part of that business, understand that part of the game. But, I never thought that a pitcher or a closer would actually own a bat company, but I've always been a wannabe hitter anyway. So
One of the questions I saw on social media when all this sort of blew up a couple of weeks ago was sort of like, you hear the explanation, okay, a bigger barrel at the spot in the bat that guys tend to make contact. And then the stupid question pops up is like, what took so long? Like, why has it taken so long to move the best part for the ball to make contact to the place where the ball actually most often makes contact? Like, why do you think this has taken so long?
I mean, I would still, we're panicking. We're all the news. Everything goes crazy. I think we got to wait and see if the pitchers make adjustments. It's like now we're pitching the ball up a lot, so they're trying to get the ball up. I think that's the hitters making an adjustment of what the players are trying to do and figuring out patterns or the ball is thrown more often. I think that's all it is. And now they're just going to be like, well, I'm not going to throw there again if you get to it. So maybe the outside part's a little more, a little more open now because the center mass on the band is a little bit different. So I don't know if that's the case. We're all make adjustments. That's the name of the game. I think that's the beauty of baseball. You face one-on-one. I'm trying to get an advantage on the hitters and vice versa. So it's the beauty of baseball. It's always evolving. You always think you can, at 3 out of 10 times you're Hall of Famer. So they're all trying to get a little bit of an advantage, and it's fun to watch. I mean, we're talking about stuff that matters, the game, the science behind everything. It's not just on baseball and hit baseball. There's a lot that comes behind it, saying like pitching, the balls are different, all that. It's all an art. So it's fun to talk about that.
I love that explanation because I hadn't even thought of how a pitcher might respond. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, if this is where Max Muncy, who I know is one Dodger who tried the bats, but if this is where Max Muncy moves the barrel to, then maybe the pitcher says, maybe I am going to try and mess with the outside of the plate. If I feel like the further I get away, the further this player has to extend, maybe there's a little bit less bat for them to make quality contact. You're the pitcher. I imagine that's what some of these guys on the mound are starting to think when they see a guy holding a torpedo bat.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's just getting the bat from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. That's all I see hitting. That's all I see pitching. If I see a guy get the bat quicker to the zone I'm trying to throw it, I'm going to try to go somewhere else. So I'm trying to mess up his, front, back, up, down, and side to side. That's kind of how I see it as a pitcher. So we're going to make adjustments in pitchers, and the hitters are going to try to make the same adjustments. You guys see guys coming up with different bats probably, but we'll see. I mean, it's a long season. It's first couple of weeks, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how the pitchers adjust. But you know what? To be honest, it's fun. It's fun to talk about it because it's always a game, just trying to game of chess. You're trying to figure out what the next move is going to be, and that's kind of what the pitchers and the hitters do. So it's fun to watch, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if the balls are hit or more inside or more outside, where the ball goes. And, it's going to be interesting to see that because now you're going to have all the analytics team looking at it. Okay, where are we going to pitch? Are we going to change all of our approach to each hitter? And it's going to be fun to see all the adjustments.
Well, and I think it was one of the Yankees themselves who said, like, I'm not even positive it works, but in my head, it feels like it works and I hit the ball out. And that's what's been so interesting too. I think from hearing some of the hitters talk about that, the reason a lot of guys aren't using them is just because the way it looks and the way it feels. It has nothing to do with does it work. It's just it looks weird or it feels weird. Or flip side, if you're walking up there and you're like, hey, everybody's hitting home runs with these things, and you have 5% more confidence when you walk into the box. It's funny to think how the mental side of the bat that has nothing to do with the physics of it. Just the mental side of walking into the box may have an impact here.
No, it's everything. I mean, going out there and understanding, you can do with this. Just look at the overload, underload, but drive lines of the world, overload, underload. Where you going out there? Are you trying to throw harder, or are you actually throwing harder with the same amount of effort? Are you learning how to throw with heavy ball or not? So that's like, you have training bats that back in the days was a little heavier, and then you go out there and you swing. You feel like you're quicker. Just the fact that you feel quicker. Does it help? Of course, because that fraction is a second of doubt that you have in your head. That's the whole difference at that level. So, it's whatever works. I mean, you're going out there trying to beat the best in the world, and you're the best in the world. So you're trying to see what they're trying to do and make adjustment, and that's what pitchers got to do. But it does make a huge difference. So it's going to be interesting to see if that catches up with the hitter or with the pitchers.
Yeah, I got some Dodger questions for you, but I got one more bat question. You mentioned B45. You guys are kind of known as innovative in this space. You're on the cutting edge of, you mentioned the materials that are being used, then you're right in the middle of the torpedo bat. Like, do you already have people that are thinking about what the next innovation is? Like 2 years from now, what's the torpedo bat, the 2.0 torpedo bat going to be that takes the league by storm?
We always do. We're trying to innovate, trying to come up with something different. Either a new color and new advertising, new ways of getting guys interested in our product. Because we're a small business. I mean, we started with nothing. We don't spend money a lot on anything but bats, and make sure their bats are the best in the business. So, you're trying to fight with the big names and everything else. So you're trying to come up with something real and something special that the players feel attached to that bat. For us, it's a very important thing. Is to really understand this is a relationship that we have with the bat. We trust our bat. We trust it's an extension of your body. So, yeah, we're trying to come up with something different, something that the players love, something they feel comfortable with, and they can go out there and put up numbers. I mean, 1 or 2 or 3 home runs can change a career, can have a lot more money. You hit one base, and you usually get out of that gym over 40, and then you go on the roll. And arbitration here, this all little things that comes into play. That the mental aspect of the game is pretty important. But we're trying to stay on top of it. We're trying to learn from the guys, understand what they want, and come up with something different. Especially in that business, and that business is very, very hard. It's you're entering, there's 50 some companies are trying to get the attention of, I don't know how many players in the big leagues, probably 750 players right now. So it's hard. It's a tough business, but you try to innovate what you have and try to make sure that, you give the players what they want.
Yeah. Okay. A couple Dodgers questions before you, and then we'll let you go. I was looking back at your career and the time you were with the Dodgers, and when you were with the Dodgers was right in sort of the peak of my Dodgers fandom. I was growing up. I've got the Gagné Cy Young bobblehead behind me. But I look back, unfortunately, the teams that you were on didn't exactly experience immense amount of team success. You're still around the Dodgers. You've come back last year. You were there being honored. Like, what's it like to sort of be connected to the organization that's having the amounts of success, spending the money that it is now spending, winning the things it's winning, but also knowing that in your time there, I think you guys won one division in like 7 or 8 years that you were there.
Yeah, I mean, we had great teams. We just couldn't figure out the pitching and the hitting at the same time. And, I wish I would have won the World Series with the Dodgers. That's something that's something I'm missing in my career. But they got me so much, the culture, of winning culture, and the understanding of history of the game. And I'm always going to be a Dodger fan. When I see them win, I feel like I'm part of it, part of that history. So it's okay. I mean, I wish I would have been there, seen it with them, and feel as a player, but I feel it as a fan now. So it's great because the Dodger fans deserve it. There's one of the greatest fan base in the world. And you see the success they're doing. The Dodgers doing a great job from the top, from ownership to the players and the fans. It's a first class organization that I was really, really fortunate to be part of.
I love it. Well, the last question I wanted to ask you, as a Dodgers fan, it's got to warm your heart a little bit to see the way that they've constructed this bullpen and the amount of resources that they've invested in bringing in like 4 or 5 guys who could be the closer. But at the same time, I was wondering, Eric Gagné at his peak, how do you think one thing that's different now is you bring in the Tanner Scott and the Blake Trinan and all these guys, and there's no set closer. Like one day it's Tanner Scott, the next day it's Blake Trinan. Obviously, when you pitched, A, because of how good you were, but B, just the era was very different. So how much would it have impacted you just from a mental perspective to be in a situation like these Dodgers relievers are now? Like Tanner Scott has been a closer, but now he's not. Now it might be an 8th inning one day, 9th inning the next day. How would that have impacted you?
I mean, obviously, I've seen with the Red Sox when I got traded from the Rangers. It's hard for them mentally. It's a hard adjustment for these guys to be able to do that as a group. It's very impressive because that means that they buy into the culture. They're buying into what the coaches are doing. They have great communication with everybody. That's just planning. And back in the days, we didn't have all the data we have, so they know who they're going to face. They understand who they're going to probably have to face in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. So if that's a set. That's a set mindset. That's what they do. They adjust. For me, I wasn't able to adjust to be, right away in the middle of the season, but, you have to adjust. And I think these guys are professionals. They know what they want. They want to win. And that's what the Dodgers offer. So once you go in there, you buy into that culture, you buy into that philosophy, and, they trust Nate Roberts, they trust the staff, and that's why they're winning. I mean, you can't win by yourself. And then, it's great that a closer established this, established that, but if you don't have that guy, or if you think that guy will be better in the 7th or 8th inning, he's able to adjust, well, you do what you need to do to win. And I think that's what they've always done. For me, that's why I said that culture that, was inculcated in my career, so grateful. So that's what they do. They know how to win. They find a way to win, and people buy into it.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is Eric Gagné. Eric, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck with B45, and hopefully we get some bats that continue to help the Dodgers. Dodgers don't seem to have many issues getting the ball out of the park, but whatever you can do to help them out, we'll appreciate it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks everybody for watching. Again, this is DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. Enjoy the rest of your day and go Dodgers.